welcome. Welcome to Sara and to Remy, also from Ramón Bilbao. And a big thank you to EWPR for setting this up. We're very grateful. I was in Rueda almost exactly 2 years ago when I met Sara for the first time. And what they're doing there is very impressive. Altogether, a lot is going on in the region. Although the name isn't as familiar as it should be in England, it's a huge region, huge production, very interesting. And at the moment, there's a lot of effort to, there's been a lot of effort on improving the overall quality of the wines. And now they're looking at new categories, including a top wine. So lots of dynamism there. And Ramón Bilbao is one of a number of big companies that has come in comparatively recently. They first got interested about a decade ago. And more recently, they built a splendid new winery, and which Sara is in charge of. And apart from the classic Verdejo, they're also growing Sauvignon Blanc, which is the second grape in the region. But what Sara is doing is quite fascinating with it. So her background is she's from Rioja, or most of her life in Rioja. She trained there. She's worked in Rioja wineries. But she's, as I said, been in charge at Ramón Bilbao in Rueda for just over 2 years now, I think. So over to Sara to tell us what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz, for your words, and thank you again, everybody, for the interest shown in our Rueda project, and welcome to Rueda. I'm going to start with the presentation. Okay. Well, I'm going to start with our first steps here in the region. For 7 years, we were working with another winery in a partnership, knowing more about the Verdejo. But in 2015, we need our own home, we need our own project. Why we decide to come to Rueda? Well, the first reason is that the Verdejo has a big potential in this region. We wanted to explore more the terroir, our own terroir, and we wanted to have a premium project like we have in other regions here in Rueda. We choose our place. Our place is called Finca Las Amelias. We have 60 hectares of Verdejo and Sauvignon Blanc, and in these 60 hectares, we have a small plot planted in 1999. So we have old vines in a small plot here in Finca Las Amelias. The rest of the vineyard was planted in 2016, and we have different kind of soils I'm going to explain later. To summarize, we have found a unique spot that we need to explore, we need to study in order to manage the vineyard in the best conditions for the region. I know that everybody knows Rueda as the region of Rueda for the wines, but I would like to give you more information about the history that brought us here to this region. The Verdejo regions are in the 11th century, more or less, because the king Alfonso VI repopulated some lands along the Duero Basin with Mozarabics. These Mozarabics are believed to brought the variety from the north of Africa, and Verdejo has now well adapted to the conditions of the region. It's true that the profile of the wines have been changing along the time. At the beginning, the most famous wines in the region were these wines with oxidative profile made by Palomino and Verdejo, but it's in the 50s when appear the new wines in a blend with Viura, Verdejo with Viura, more fresh, but not the profile we have now. It's in the 70s when the fresh verdejos that now we know from the region start to be made. This change in the profile of the wines have an influence in the plantations. Nowadays, the most important variety is Verdejo, followed by far for Sauvignon Blanc and Viura, and the rest of the varieties are not important now. Which is the reason that the Verdejo was the most important variety in the region? The adaptability of the variety. The variety comes from the north of Africa and now is well adapted to these conditions. We are in a plateau between 700, 800 meters, so we are very high. We have a lot of wine. It's a very windy area with no barriers for the wine. It's a very healthy area, so it's perfect for this variety. It's true that because of the latitude, we are in a Mediterranean climate, like in Spain, but because of the altitude, we have an influence of a continental climate. Which is this? Well, a lot of sun hours per year, very high insolation. It's a dry area with poor rainfall, so the vineyards have a lot of high hydric stress conditions. We have very cold winters and very, very dry and hot summers with short springs. It's common to have late frosts here in the spring, not this year, so we are very happy. But the key factor is the difference in temperature that we have between day and night. This is the secret of the balance with the sugar that the grape gains during the day and the acidity which is not lost during the night. So we can have fresh wines. All these conditions made the characteristic landscape of Rueda. We have big stations of crops and cereals and also of vineyards, very homogeneous. We don't have forest, we have small groups of pine trees and no mountain barriers. We are in a plateau. So the animals that we have here are small rodents and a lot of birds. The most important are the birds of prey. With all this information of the region, our question is, could Rueda bring something else to the white stand? Well, for us, the answer is yes, and the way is looking for wines with longevity. As I say at the beginning, when we arrived here to Finca Las Amelias, we found a unique spot, but we need to study it. We do a lot of studies in the soils, and we found different kind of soils. Rich in carbonates, not rich in carbonates. It's true that all the soils are very poor. Most of them are rich in carbonates, but the most important difference was in the texture. So we have one type of soils, sandy loam with a sandy loam texture, which is the soils we choose for the Sauvignon Blanc. Because it has more capacity of water retention. And the other type of soils are with more stones, more gravelly, we call here gravelly soils for the Verdejo. The reason, well, the Verdejo is a rustic variety, is very resistant to drought, is indigenous, so nowadays is well adapted to our climate and to the soils. And the type of wines are with medium alcohol, medium acidity, aromas of fruit, but also aromas, herbal aromas, which are very important in the variety in the region, and a bitter finish, which identifies that the Verdejo comes from Rueda and not for other region. On the other hand, Sauvignon Blanc goes better in this kind of soils with more capacity of water retention, because it's a variety which comes from a fresher area, it's not indigenous, so it's less resistant to the drought. And it's interesting for us for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that it's perfect in small percentage in the blend with Verdejo, and it's also a beautiful wine on its own. The result of this kind of wines from Sauvignon Blanc here are high acidity, medium body, and it's a very aromatic grape. The aromas, it depends on the way that we manage the vineyard, so I can explain you later. We believe in these two varieties. We bet in these two varieties for a lot of reasons. In the Verdejo, because it's a variety which can make fresh wines, but we also believe that it can be aged. If we compare the Verdejo with the Viura, which is a variety that is traditionally aged, we notice some difference. In the case of Verdejo, the texture on the palate is better, it has more body. The working with the lees gives this body, and this work is very interesting at the end of the process of the wine. And the Verdejo has a better aromatic profile. We have more intensity of aromas, so we can have a wine aged, but with a fresher profile. In the past, the common blend was Verdejo and Viura, but nowadays, well, the oxidation of the mast is not it not take place in the winery, so the Viura is not in the blend. We use more Sauvignon Blanc because it gives this aromatic potential to the wine and high acidity. So, well, the blend is it's a good idea here in Rueda. On the other hand, we went on Sauvignon Blanc for two reasons. The first one, as I explained, because of the blend and because of the potential of the single varietal wine. But the second one is that for us is the international queen variety. And there are not too much vineyards here, as I say in the previous apply. So give singularity to our wines and to our winery. The profile of Sauvignon Blanc in Rueda is between the fresh wines of Sancerre and the tropical wines of New Zealand because, well, of the weather condition and the climate, the sunshine duration, the rainfall. So this is more or less the profile that we can have here in Rueda. But for the Sauvignon Blanc, it's very important to manage the canopy in the best way. The Verdejo, because it's indigenous, is highly resistant to drought and to sunburn. But it's not the same for the Sauvignon Blanc. So we need to leave more vigorous canopy. And the aromas on the grapes change if we have more or less canopy. In the case of the berries who grow with shady conditions, the aromas are more herbal, more grassy notes. And in the berries which grows with more sunlight are more tropical fruit. So we use the canopy to have this kind of aromas. It's also important the irrigation for both varieties because here we have very dry conditions in the vineyard. So we try to be sustainable. So we install a smart irrigation system with sensors in the soil to monitor the moisture levels. We can detect if the plant needs more water, and it's better because we are more sustainable in the use of the water. The objective is that in 2021, we can get the wineries for climate protection certificates in our winery in Rueda, as we have in other facilities of the company. In the same way, we try to respect the fauna, the surroundings, and the biodiversity of the region. So in our plot, we have installed nesting boxes to encourage birds of prey to breed. The reason is because we have a lot of rodents, as I said at the beginning, and when these kind of rodents are in maximum condition abundance, they can cause damage to the viticulture. So with this kind of systems, we can keep control the level of this kind of animals in a sustainable way. To finish with these practices, these sustainable practices, I can say that now we are applying organic practices in part of our vineyard in the 5 hectares of our oldest vines and in other parts of the winery, because we believe in this kind of practices, and Verdejo, it's a variety very resistant to disease, more than Sauvignon Blanc. So we consider that these kind of practices are better for us and for our vineyard. Finishing with the surroundings, with the vineyard, with those things that are out of the winery, if we go inside the winery, we can summarize our philosophy in three items. The first one is avoiding uncontrolled oxidation until the aging process using gases, inert gases. The second one is working with the lees, which is very important for the longevity of the wines, all of the wines, and the use of different kind of materials. These materials are stainless steel, concrete, and foudre. The foudre is made by French oak. So we use these different materials in, not all the materials are used in all the wines, but they are used in different parts of the process. I'm going to start explaining you our Sauvignon Blanc because it's the wine in which we use these 3 materials during the fermentation. Our Sauvignon Blanc came for the grapes from our vineyard from 2016 and is fermented in the 3 materials. In the stainless steel, we preserve the fruit, the variety. In the concrete, we have more body, more mouthfeel sensations. And in the wooden vats, we have tertiary aromas, so we have more complexity in the aroma profile. The fermentation begins at 16 degrees and then it's brought down to 14 degrees to extract more herbal aromas and these thiolic aromas that this variety has. And we use microoxygenation because it's true that this variety usually undergo reductions. So we try to avoid this reduction with microoxygenation. When the fermentation is finished, we keep the wine in contact with its own lees till the moment of bottling. It could be 6-7 months, it depends on the vintage. And the result is a blend of the 3 materials in a 33% of each one. The result is a wine, is a different wine with the typicity of the region, with fruity aromas, herbal aromas, but also with the complexity of the materials, with high acidity, more body because of the concrete, so it's a very complex wine. We have 2 wines more, 2 Verdejos here in the winery. The first one is our John Verdejo, which is fermented in stainless steel tanks because we are looking for the typicity of the region. We want to preserve the variety, and the fermentation, it's all the time at 15-16 degrees, it depends, to extract a lot of fruity aromas, but also the typicity, this fennel I say at the beginning. We don't use microoxygenation because Verdejo don't need this kind of actions. And we keep the wine at the end of the fermentation with its own lees till the moment of bottling. Why? Because we believe in the work with the lees in all our wines, because we believe in the longevity in all the wines, including the fresh wine, the young wines. The result is young wine with fruity aromas, with peach, with citric aromas like lemon, good grass, but also fennel, which is very typical, and this bitter finish we are looking for in this kind of wines. I put here that the Verdejo has a high protein content, because it's true, and we need to eliminate these proteins because of the next appli. We done a lot of tests with different fining agents in order to eliminate these proteins, and now we can say that all our wines are vegan. We use different kind of fining agents, bentonites with potato and pea and all other vegetables origins, and made of just derivatives. So all our wines now are vegan. Our third wine is made in these concrete tanks, tulip shaped, and is our Ramón Bilbao limited edition lease. In this case, the grapes came from our old vines from 1999. They are hand-picked. In the rest of the wines are harvested by machine, but in this case, it's hand-picked because it's here, the plot. And we put the grapes in a short table to select these grapes that have a high quality. And we macerate the grapes during 6 or 8 hours to extract more from the skins. Okay, then we ferment the mast in the concrete, and the fermentation goes very slowly because of the material. Also, the microoxygenation, it's because of the porosity of the material. So in this case, we use this microoxygenation. And at the end of the fermentation, we keep the wine in contact with its own yeast during 1 or 2 months. After that, we racked the wine into the barrels. Okay, and it's in the barrels where we made this work with the yeast by the technique of batonnage, which is made by hand. We do it around during 8 months, more or less. It depends on the vintage and on the taste. And it's true that at the beginning we have used 3 types of oak: American oak, French oak, and Hungarian oak. The problem is that the American oak lose the primary aromas of the Verdejo. So now we don't use it in the blend. Now we use French barrels and Hungarian barrels. The French barrels because of the aromas of black pepper and white pepper, and the Hungarian because it has more balsamic aromas. And both of them respect the variety. It's very important for us and for the longevity to respect the variety in the wines. The result is a blend of these barrels, and the assemblage or the final blend is done again in a foudre made of French oak. After that, we bottle the wine, and the wine rests in the winery for 5 or 6 months more, because we need aging in the bottle with the natural cork. The result, well, is a complex wine. It's a wine in which you recognize the variety, but you have more. You have tertiary aromas, you have more volume in the mouth, you have more body, you can eat a lot of kinds of dishes with this wine. You have the fruit, you have peach, but also you have white pepper, you have white chocolate, these aromas from the wood. So with a very long finish, it's a wine for keep at home and open when you decide. We believe in this kind of wines, and now we can make the question again: could Rueda bring something else for the white stand? Well, we bet on yes. We bet on the longevity. We bet on this kind of wines, and we don't have a lot of experience. We have our first vintage was in 2016. Now we have finished 2020 with very high expectations, but we don't have a lot of experience, but hopeful in the future we can taste this one maybe in 10 years with a very, very high quality. This is all I want to tell you. Thank you very much for your attention, and welcome to Rueda when you want.
Thank you very much, Sara.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, does anybody have any questions here for Sara? I unmute people.
Can I start off?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Sara, how your wines are going to fit in the new classifications for Verdejo, because there's nothing in the classifications for you to be able to distinguish to the outside world between your basic Verdejo and the limited edition.
No, nowadays there's no distinction. All the wines now in Rueda are called white, blanco. Okay, and well, the distinction is that what you can tell about your wine. But now in the region there is no distinction in the labels, because all the wines of Rueda has the same label like blanco. Just these wines of in Spanish is Gran Vino de Rueda, which comes from very, very old vines, are for is a distinction, but it's not our case. We have our plot with new vines, so we have the same for all of them. The distinction is that what I can tell you about the wine.
Yes. Do you think there should be another classification between the basic Rueda and the Gran Vinos?
Well, I don't know. It's new. I don't know which kind of wines are going to be this. And I don't know, because it's just related with the age of the vine. So I don't know, it's just the K factor. I think there are more K factor inside the winery and in the winemaking that can make this kind of beautiful wines.
Thank you.
We have a question from Meg. If Meg would like to ask a question yourself, Meg?
Sure. Thank you, Sara. That was really fantastic, comprehensive, and your presentation was really so informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about my English, but
no, your English is fantastic. It's very, very understandable. Can you tell us about the production volume of these wines, and also which markets do you hope they'll be most successful in? Are you targeting any specific markets?
Yeah, well, here we made around 1 million of bottles with all of the wines. The most important is our Verdejo. This one is around the 80% of the production, more or less. The 10% of the production could be Sauvignon Blanc, more or less, and the limited edition, because it's a limited edition, every year change. Around 30,000 bottles, more or less, per year, this one.
And so is there a particular country? Do you expect that to go within Europe or to go elsewhere?
I don't know, this last year, I don't know if Remy knows better than me, yes. In which countries.
Yes, well, basically, of course, Spain is our first market worldwide, but in export markets for Ramón Bilbao in Rueda, the main markets are UK, specifically, then Germany, Mexico, the US, China. Did I say Germany? Yes. These are Switzerland as well. These are probably our top 5, 6 most important markets.
And if I may, who is your US importer?
Well, we have our subsidiary company there. We belong to a family company called Zamora Company. We also have a winery in Rioja, Ramón Bilbao itself. And we also have another winery in Rías Baixas, northwest of Spain, with Mar de Frades, and then in Ribera del Duero as well. All of them belong to the same family company called Zamora Company. And we established a couple of years, 3 years ago, our subsidiary company in the US. And then, well, we have established a network of different distributors along the market. But basically, one of the top, most important one is Transatlantic. We work with Transatlantic wines.
Thank you.
And Ali was saying that the wines in the UK are available through the Great Wine Company. And yes, she's saying, and also Enotria, if anybody's interested in looking for where they can buy the wines. And what are your current vintages of the Sauvignon Blanc and the Verdejo in the UK? Which vintages are available?
I think we're on to 2018, still about to move to 2019, and then a year older for the Lias because it's got the lees aging as well.
What about
actually Verdejo? Sorry, Ali. Verdejo is 19 vintage. What we have currently on the market.
Yeah, I think we've just moved on to it now.
Sara, do you see the same aging potential with the Sauvignon as with the Verdejo?
No, it's not the same. In the case of Verdejo, we thought that can be aged better than Sauvignon Blanc. This is because we decided to make our limited edition with just Verdejo.
Thank you.
Why Hungarian goat is used?
Rosemary Brown. Rose, would you like to ask your question? Let me just see if I can unmute. No? Okay.
Okay, brilliant.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I was just writing out another question as well because I wasn't sure how you're going to do this. Yes, I was interested in the Hungarian oak. Where did that idea come from?
Well, we were trying here with a lot of precedents of the oak because we believe on the innovation, and we tried the Hungarian oak because of the condition in which condition the oak grows in Hungary. The aromas of this kind of oak are more balsamic because of the procedence of the oak. So, well, it's very famous now here in Spain, the use of Hungarian oak because of these notes. So the idea was because we are all the time trying new materials, new oaks, and well, in different tastes, the Hungarian was the best.
So how long have they been using Hungarian oak in Spain?
I don't know. Here in Rueda, we were the first one in 2016. But in Spain, I don't know if other wineries are using for.
I mean, who else in Spain and which regions?
I don't know. In Spain, maybe in a lot of regions can use this kind of oak, but here in Rueda, we were the first ones.
In Spain, we cannot say that we are the only one because probably there will be many other wineries that are currently working with this material, but I would say it's less than the 1% of the total. I mean, it's not a very common material, but of course, I'm sure there will be some wineries that are doing, I don't know if experimental aging process with this oak or using it as a proper material to age the wines.
Interesting. And also, Sara, your presentation was excellent. I was trying to get everything down. I was writing very
I'll email
fast.
it over to you. I'll email it to Andrea and Liz and to anybody that I know on here as well. I'll send it over.
The thing that I'm just making sure that I've got correct was that you're making 3 wines.
Yeah.
Your first one was just 100% Verdejo. The second one was 100% Sauvignon Blanc, and then the third one was 100% Verdejo, but that's the lees aged oaked one.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So you're not blending Verdejo and Sauvignon in the same wine.
I'm doing a lot of experiments with this, and maybe in the future we add a percentage of Sauvignon Blanc in the young wine, but not now because we don't have enough Sauvignon Blanc.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Nick has got a question there. Nick, I've just asked you, are you able to unmute?
Hello. Hi, Sara. Thank you very much. I said it was an excellent presentation and great flow on the slides, and your language is great. So just want to ask you a commercial question really about how Verdejo goes down with the consumer in international markets, because Sauvignon's been very successful and Albarino also has sort of followed in that wake, although on a very much smaller scale. But Verdejo as a grape variety is not something consumers necessarily jump to straight away without a bit of education or training or tasting. I'm just wondering if the DO was doing any work behind getting it recognised, or you know, the producers obviously themselves get as many tastings as they can probably in store and so on. But do you have any comment on the way it's been marketed? And you've got a lot of Verdejo to sell, so hopefully, you know, as fresh as possible. Although I take the points about the aging. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, maybe the way is to make more taste of the variety, because it's true that it's a variety which is very important in Spain, not so famous in other countries. Maybe making these kind of things to present our variety, to present our project, it could be a way to have more consumers, because I think it's because people don't know this variety very well. It's true that the denomination now is the region appellation is doing a very interesting work in this communication of the DO and the variety. But I think that the only way is to communicate.
Yeah, there is something, Nick, there is something that we talked about in our company.
Yeah.
One of the main strategies that we have is bring liquid to the lips. We need people to taste. And that's the only way. And as Sara was saying, yes, the DO Rueda is trying to you know, strengthen the efforts in highlighting especially those high-end wines. We don't want people to understand or to know Verdejo as a cheap, fresh wine, if I explain myself properly. I think that the focus needs to be in these high-end wines and how Verdejo can evolve, and not focusing on super large producers that can sell a €3 Verdejo wine. Of course they exist and they will be doing a great job, but I think the main goal is to highlight and to position Rueda and Verdejo variety as one of the main top varieties in Spain in terms of white wines. And I think the focus and the efforts and the promotion that Rueda is doing outside of Spain especially is focused on this strategy.
Thank you.
Can I just say something? Interesting, because I just tasted a Verdejo from Chile. I know there's a tiny amount planted, but what they're interested in Chile is the fact that it can cope, as you were saying, with sunburn and drought. And I think there's lots of potential in Chile. I know that, you know, they are competitors in a way, but it may introduce people, if Chile embraces it, it may introduce more people to the grape variety and then bring them to you as well, because they then go back and see where it actually had come from. They don't know the grape, but they find that that's where it comes from Rueda. So that was quite interesting. You know, it may be some time, but I don't know whether you've tasted Chilean or Verdejo planted anywhere else.
I don't know if the profile of the Verdejo of Chile is the same of.
They're growing it at 900 meters altitude. Well,
could be similar, but the climate condition we have here, it's very important for the typicity of this Verdejo. As I say at the beginning, if you try a Verdejo from Rueda, it's different from a Verdejo from other regions of Spain. So here, the key factor is the adaptability of the Verdejo because it's indigenous of this region. So I think it could be a little bit different.
Carol was saying here, Carol Brown was saying that she hosted a virtual tasting last night for some consumers, and the Rueda Verdejo was one of the suggested wines and was very well received. So obviously the word is getting out there. I also noted that you said about the Sauvignon Blanc that the star was between New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc and Sancerre. Is that something that deliberate that you have done, or is it just the style of wine that you produce from the weather and climate, etc.?
Yeah, it's because of the weather. Because here we have, well, the Sauvignon Blanc has his own profile because of the variety, but here the weather is very different from Sancerre and more similar to New Zealand. So we are in a profile between both of them because it's not the same. It's not the same, but it's common in all the region, not just in our vineyard.
Okay. But you couldn't influence it by the canopy management.
Yeah, we can influence. So this is the way that we have this profile near to Sancerre. If we don't manage the canopy, the profile goes to the New Zealand profile.
Okay. And what are the price points of the wines?
I don't know which is the price now. It's around, Remy, you know the exactly price in
The
UK market?
Sauvignon Blanc are about £10–11 each, and the Lias is about £14–15.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the floor? No? Okay. Okay, well, I'd like to say obviously thank you to Sara. Liz, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, that was a great presentation, Sara. Thank you very much indeed. It's so interesting what you're doing. One thing Remy said about taking liquid to lips is so important. I knew nothing really about Rueda until I was there and tasted it. And since then, I've tried to persuade other people to try it. And as Carol's experience was, people love it. And I do hope that wines like yours, which are a step up from some of the ones that end up in supermarkets, which are fine, they're fresh and nice, but they have rather less complexity. I do hope that these slightly higher step up wines will get out to as many people as possible, because they are lovely and they're different. And in these days, it's great to have different wines. So thank you very much, Sara and Remy, for bringing this to us. And I hope we'll have some more members watching it on the link to the recording. Thank you very much.